some more fuel shortages coming. Putin's likely to cut off supply of Russian gas to Europe, the French minister said. They are shutting down the Nord Stream natural gas pipeline. It runs to Germany. They're supposed to be shutting it down for 10 days for maintenance. But they fear that Russia's going to permanently shut down this pipeline. I found a short video I'm going to play. Kind of explains a little better about what all the countries are doing and how we probably should expect gas shortages or rolling blackouts.
The current global energy crisis is said to become even worse than what the world experienced in the 1970s. All across the globe, consumers are being hit by soaring prices. Businesses are facing energy supply shortages. Political leaders and central bankers are struggling with inflation, and countries are confronting worsening supply chain problems. In addition to pushing consumer prices to soar, the ongoing crisis is transforming a previously global market into one that's fragmented and extremely vulnerable to disruption. It's not only hampering economic growth, but also deepening the world's great power rivalries. And now, populations around the planet are being warned to prepare for fuel and power shortages, rationing, and rolling outages as energy reserves hit dangerously low levels. On top of everything else, due to the geopolitical crisis arising from the conflict in Ukraine, a total cutoff of Russian gas is about to trigger catastrophic consequences for the global market, according to President Vladimir Putin. We've a lot to cover in today's video, but before moving on, please give us your support by leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel so you stay up to date with the most important news. The worsening energy crisis the world is facing right now didn't begin with the Russia and Ukraine conflict, but rather last year when energy demand surged as economies emerged from the health crisis. Back then, China was struggling with coal shortages and prices were shooting up. Consequently, natural gas markets were impacted and supplies became increasingly tighter, pushing prices up as well. Meanwhile, oil prices were already above the historical norm when the conflict broke out. But the Ukraine crisis and the sanctions on Russia have definitely complicated matters in the oil and natural gas markets, given that together the countries produce nearly 40% of the global energy supplies. In the U.S., on top of shortages of oil-based fuels and natural gas, businesses and consumers are grappling with electricity shortages. Experts say that America's crumbling power grid is reaching a breaking point as scorching temperatures, low wind output, and record power demand overwhelm the already stressed system. In fact, on Sunday, ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, asked households and businesses to conserve power and warned them to prepare for rolling blackouts. The grid is facing a reserve capacity shortage with no market solution available, ERCOT said in a press release. The company urged consumers to reduce energy consumption during peak hours and when temperatures hit triple-digit territory. The power shock in Texas is likely to result in higher crude prices because oil and gas industries will end up being forced to shutter operations during blackouts. The latest projections show that wind generation is at only 8% of the grid's total capacity, and the high temperatures mean no relief in sight. During an interview with Zero Hedge, one industry insider who talked on condition of anonymity revealed that the power shortage is expected to persist for about 2 weeks, and that the White House may have to ask refineries to idle or significantly derate plants for up to a week to avoid having to black out residential consumers in a heat wave. They don't want to make folks sweat at home in the dark during an election year. Cracks may just be getting started and could go parabolic from here, he said. To make things worse, another natural gas plant caught fire this weekend. That's the 5th incident since the start of the year. On Saturday, a natural gas gathering and processing facility near Medford, Oklahoma, exploded, leading to an accident that fortunately left no victims but caused some major damage to the U.S. energy market. 10K Inc. is a leading midstream service provider and the operator of a major natural gas liquid system. The explosion at its NGL fractionation facility in Medford, about 85 miles south of Wichita, Kansas, could disrupt the flow of hydrocarbons to energy export hubs on the Texas Gulf Coast. 10K's fractionation plant separates natural gas liquids into nat gas-based products, which include ethane, propane, butane, and natural gas, used widely in all sectors of the economy. These products are also used in inputs for petrochemical plants, electricity generation at power plants, burning for cooking at food processing plants, and are also blended into vehicle fuel. At the same time, the outlook isn't any more promising in U.S. oil markets. Over the past year, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve has been drained and is now sitting at dangerously low levels. Despite the repeated warnings that the country is set to face a shortage of fuels, more than 5 million barrels from the Strategic Reserve were exported to Europe and exported to Asia last month, including to top our geopolitical nemesis in the global arena, China. Even as gasoline and diesel prices continue to hit record highs all across the nation. About 1 million barrels per day have been drained from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve through October. That's an unprecedented pace. The drain means inventories fell to the lowest since 1986. Right now, U.S. crude futures stand above $100 per barrel. Gasoline and diesel prices remain above $5 a gallon in 1/5 of the nation. About a third of those exports were headed to U.S. archenemy China, which is now directly benefiting at the expense of the American consumers as a result of the federal government's growing panic to reverse the consequences of its disastrous green policies by selling the most valuable U.S. asset directly to Beijing. With energy prices rising to never-before-seen levels, gas importers and utilities are fighting for survival, while consumer bills are going through the roof, with some warning of rising financial pressure. The situation is more than dramatic, highlighted Axel Giadashko, the head of GDW. Social peace is in great danger, he stressed. As tensions between Russia and Ukraine escalate, officials are alerting that the situation could get even worse. Russia is shutting down one of its main pipelines, Nord Stream, for 10 days of scheduled maintenance, but many are fearing it'll never reopen. The pipeline delivers nearly 2/3 of the natural gas supplies that Germany consumes. In a recent note, Deutsche Bank's Jim Reed said that while industry leaders spend most of their market time thinking about the Fed and a recession, what is happening to Russian gas is potentially an even bigger story. The bank warns that if the gas shutoff is not resolved in coming weeks, this would lead to a broadening out of energy disruption with material upfront effects on the global economic growth and, of course, much higher inflation. It seems that Germany is already expecting the worst-case outcome. Last month, the country took crucial steps towards rationing gas when Economy Minister Robert Habeck activated the second stage of the country's gas emergency plan. He said last week the situation on the gas market is tense, and unfortunately, we can't guarantee that it'll not get worse. We have to be prepared for the situation to become critical. Executives estimate that the Ukraine crisis will push up energy prices for consumers by between 71% and 200% this year. At this point, populations all around the world are being warned to brace for sweeping energy supply shortages, rationing of fuels, and rolling outages. On Sunday, French Economy and Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire warned that Russia is poised to totally halt gas supplies to global markets and that people must now prepare. Let's prepare for a total cut-off of Russian gas. Today, that is the most likely option, Le Maire told an audience at an economic conference in Aix-en-Provence. We have to anticipate and to put ourselves in order of battle as of now, he emphasized. A potential domino effect from a Russian supply cutoff means that the entire planet could face repercussions as the global market loses one of its major suppliers, Le Maire explained. For his part, Russian President Vladimir Putin sees catastrophic energy consequences as sanctions against his country continue. Putin said at a televised meeting with senior officials Friday, saying, "We know that the West is trying to replace Russian energy resources. However, we expect the result of such actions to be an increase in gas prices on the spot market and an increase in the cost of energy resources for end consumers." According to Putin, the sanctions will be felt more acutely by Western nations than by Russia. Further use of sanctions may lead to even more severe, without exaggeration, even catastrophic consequences on the global energy market, he said. For Americans, tighter energy supplies mean that they will spend 70% on energy this year. According to the calculations of Tim Morstad, the Associate State Director for AARP, there's going to be some real sticker shock here. He reveals today's average prices are already about 70% higher than a year ago. If demand continues to outstrip supplies, that could amount to a 140% increase in less than 24 months. Many have seen their wages going up by 5.9% in December. But that's no match for a 70% increase in energy prices, Morstad said. These are essential expenses. Unfortunately, even the head of the International Energy Agency is saying that the ongoing supply squeeze that's triggering crippling energy shortages and sending prices to all-time highs is getting worse. The world has never witnessed such a major energy crisis in terms of its depth and its complexity, IEA Executive Director Fatih Birol said at a global energy forum last Thursday. We might not have seen the worst of it yet. This is affecting the entire world. We're entering very chaotic times, and our social stability is at risk. An apocalyptic energy supply chain breakdown is ahead. And as geopolitical tensions continue to escalate, the second half of this year will see waves of social unrest emerging all around the globe as populations rise against inflation, food and energy shortages, and the rampant cost of living.
Well, there you have it. We're giving away our oil reserves over to Asia and Europe. We already see the farmers rising up. You're already starting to see the civil unrest. So it doesn't look like it's going to get any better from here. It looks like it's going to get worse. I don't think we've seen nothing yet compared to what's coming down the road. Alright guys, just wanted to do a short video on that. I'll catch you guys later.